All right, welcome traders. I am here to address something that there's a few of you that have reached out to me and said, "What do you think of this?" And my reach as a pressing and cleaning service, I'm international. I overnight had a lot of my Australian people, my Japanese people, the folks from South Africa message me and be like, what's going on in America? What's going on in Chicago? So I going to take a little bit different view on it. I'm not going to get into influencers, the pre-bought and thing. That's part of the business. So I'm not going to speak to that. I don't think that's something that we really need to talk about. There's other channels that address that, and it's just too much drama for me. I'm an old guy. Don't want to get into that. So I am here today with Tony from EGS Comics. How you doing, Tony?
Good, Eric. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. So Tony and I have been kicking around the same circles. This is actually the first time we've gotten to speak sort of face to face, but I'm a big fan of the product, a big fan of what you're doing over there. I've gotten a couple EGS books and I've looked at them because in what I do, it's really important for me to, because I have people ask me about the service, it's really important for me to say, I can, with confidence, say this is a grading service that's legit, that's moving forward, doing great things. And, I think your grading is spot on. One thing people don't know, you don't grade in the way that other grading services do. Like you do the 9.89, all that,
Mm-hmm.
but you grade from an old school point of view. Like you really look at it from the point of view as an overstreet, old school grader.
Yeah.
What was the decision? What was that deciding factor to go that route as opposed to these newer methods?
Well, honestly, to tell you the truth, when I decided that I was going to, start EGS, I knew that, look, the way we graded books back when I was a kid, working in a comic shop in the 80s, things changed, right? Ever since the third party grading started, the way that comics were graded changed, right? I mean, not only we went to the numerical system, right, but it's just the techniques changed
Right.
on how these companies or how graders of these companies now grade a book opposed to what we did, back then. Because, hey, I mean, I'm sure you remember, back then it was, all the comic shop owners and, people who were, shops and whatever, I mean, they would put their grade on the book, and then, you being a consumer, you got to look at the book and you're like, I don't know. He's got it as a fine. I think it might be this, it might be that. So, that's of course where all the third party grading came in and has taken that out of the picture. But the thing is, the biggest part of it was, I mean, just the techniques on how to find, defects, changed from, where it is now to what it was then. So I had to say, okay, look, I know how to grade a comic the old way, right? Because I graded them all the time with my boss, and I
Right.
mean, he was a decent grader, So I mean, I learned a lot from him, but that alone didn't translate into what it is now. So I said, well, look, if I'm going to do this, I mean, I have to learn, what they're doing now opposed to what was being done back then. So I took a course on how to grade books by Overstreet, by the Overstreet grading
Right.
guide. Because they've been putting out that book for many years on how to, grade comics. CGC has their advertisements and things in there, and so do the other grading companies. So I was like, if I want to find out, what they're doing, these days that we weren't doing then. So I had to take a course and educate myself on that. But it was by the Overstreet standards of grading comics. I mean, it's still the 10-point system, but it showed you, you know, the different definitions, how they've changed, you know, how looking at the book has changed, how to look at a book, how to find certain things. And it was just a real eye opener, because I was like, wow, you know, we didn't do this back in the day, you know?
Right.
So, but, you know, another reason why I wanted to do it is because, look, I know that, you know, granted, I took and passed a course, but there's also the actual book. And that's really what the course was that book, and how to use it, and how to, grade by that book. But the great thing that I saw about it is, I said, this is great because this is an actual physical product that people can go out and buy and look and read and study and determine for themselves. And I can say, look, you know, I can be transparent and say, look, this is EGS standards right here. It's in this physical copy of a book. So you
Right.
know how I'm getting to that number. It's all here in the book. So if you want to pick up a book and read it and study it and understand things more, you can. But at least, you know, we can, you know, honestly say, this is how we're getting to that number, to where, you know, the other companies don't let you know. So we don't have any idea what their grading standard is, right?
Right.
So that's why I tell everybody, you know, look, all of these different companies, they don't explain and tell you how they're getting to that number in the square or the circle or whatever box they're using. So when they don't disclose that, you can't expect that grades are going to be the same with any company, right? I mean, unless
Absolutely.
everybody is doing the same exact thing and using the same exact formula to come up with that grading number, then how is everybody's grading and grade numbers and such going to be the same? Because we're all different. So that's why I tell people, look, an EGS grade isn't a CGC grade. It isn't a CBCS grade. It isn't a PGX grade, just like a PGX grade isn't a CGC grade or CBCS grade, or a CBCS grade isn't a PGX grade, or because we're all different. We all are coming up to that grade number differently, but at least we're telling you, look, this is how we're getting there, right? So, to me, it's just one of those things that it makes things more, transparent. And that's really why I went that route to do it this way. So, and again, this is nothing against the other companies, right? I mean, they do what they do. We do what we do. But, I think a lot of people just get confused with, everybody wants to like send one book to 3 companies or 4 companies and see how they grade. And then they're going to come up with who's right and who's wrong. I mean, it's ridiculous, because there's no standard. There's no, if you don't know how they're getting to that number, then who are you to say this grade is right and this grade is wrong when you don't know how they're coming up with that grade in the first place?
Right.
Oh, well, I know CGC wouldn't grade at that. Oh, really? Okay. So, CGC wouldn't. Well, how do they get to their number that you're coming up with that fact? You
Right.
can't, there's no proof, right? There's nothing that is there in stone that you can definitely say, well, this one's right and this one's wrong. So I think there's, that's a big misconception out there, because I get a lot of people saying, well, the whole thing, well, this one overgrades, this one undergrades, or does this. Well, who are you? I mean,
Right.
are you a grader? Because I'm going to tell you, and this is what I tell everybody, and this is a really big thing that I want everybody to understand. Okay. I know for a fact there is not one grader that works for a grading company, any of the grading companies. There is not one grader that does not know how to grade a comic book. They know how to grade a comic book. What meaning is they know how to find defects. They know the procedures on how to find defects. But what's different is how they all come up with that grade number.
Right.
That's what's different. Not, oh, this grader's soft, this grader's hard, this grader's this. That's not it. Everybody that is a grader of grading comic books knows how to grade a comic book. The difference is how they're coming up with that grade. How many defects per grade does each company give? You know, I mean, that's a whole nother rabbit hole we can get into, you know?
Right.
So,
And one thing, so we're looking at your website here. This is actually your website, real time.
yeah.
Right on the front page, you one thing I like about EGS that the other companies don't provide to me is a sense of security in transparency.
Yes.
You're telling us right from the beginning, if I open up your website, never seen you before and don't know anything about you, about your company, about your services, about your products, I know that you're using the Overstreet Comics price guide. You're telling me what to look for in my book before I even send it to you. And that's the kind of transparency that's been missing in our third party graders for since conception.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
And that's it's important for me to kind of lay that out before we get further in the discussion,
Mm-hmm.
because integrity, that's really what we're going to be talking about. What it all comes down to is integrity and trust in these companies, trusting you, the person that we're sending our, you know, our Hulk 180, we're sending this to you. I have to be able to trust that you're going to pick this book up and treat it with the same level of respect and have the integrity it takes to be honest with me, because I'm going to think it's a 9.8 and
Right.
I need you to ground my expectations.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
that's important, you know, because like I've said many times, look, you know, you have a certain perception probably of what your book that you think should grade out, okay? And you send it to me and you get it back and you know what? You might be real angry with the grade you get. You might not agree with it at all,
right,
but at least I let you know this is how I got there. So you could go out and buy a book, then maybe you'll understand why you got your grade. You might not like it, you know, but maybe you'll agree with it once you dive into grading. You know, once you read that book and study that book, then come back to me and let's see if you're still angry. You know what I mean? So
right,
again, listen, it's all about transparency because like you said, you have to trust somebody, right? Because the fact of the matter is, Eric, is there is no regulation in this industry. None. No
right.
regulation. Okay.
And no
So what do you
standardization.
have when there's no regulation? What's the only thing you have if nothing is regulated?
Right.
Trust. You have to put your trust in somebody. If it's not regulated, that's all you have is trust. So that's, you know, like I said, that's why we do things the way we do.
Right. And I've said it many times. I've got friends at CGC. I've got friends at CBCS. I had friends at PGX. I don't think we're real friendly anymore, because I've been very critical of their business practices. And to me, I trust Greg that owns my local comic shop. I
Mm-hmm.
trust if he tells me a book is very fine near mint, it's very fine near mint because he's been doing it for 30 years and he knows what he's talking about. I trust Roger. I trust people that come over to my house and sit at my dining room table and talk comic books with me. I trust these people. I trust I trust Tony with my books because I trust that you know what you're talking about because you give me transparency. You let me know what you're looking for. You let me know what could go wrong, what may go wrong, what probably will go wrong.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing. I get none of that from my friends that I know much better than you at the other grading companies. So
Yeah. Yeah, and we give the graders notes too, right there, right with the
Right.
certificate. They're right on there. So there's no happen to get your phone and scan here and go to there. It's just right there. I mean, we try to, be as detailed kind of as we can, because there's only so much room on the certificate, to put notes, but at least we're letting look, this is what we saw, granted, we don't put, when we say, hey, spine stress lines on front and back cover, we don't say three spine stress lines on the front, four spine stress, we don't get that detail because there's
Right.
just no time and room, but at least you're getting an idea of, say, okay, this is what he saw, so you can get a better understanding, because there's probably something on there that we saw that you didn't. So
Right. And one thing that really speaks to that is to integrity as well is in my conversations with you, you are quick to acknowledge your flaws. Um, you don't think you're infallible. You're not looking to cover up mistakes you've made. You own up to what you do that may be wrong and strive to correct that in the future. And that's something that we also do not see from other third party systems.
yep,
So huge kudos for that. I think being self aware that you're not the end all know all of comic book grading is really important into bringing integrity into what you do.
yeah, man. Listen, I just, again, it's really, I don't want to say it's a dumbed down way of grading, because that's not what it is, but it's a very simple term that I use. It's, I go by the book. I go by the book, and that's
Right.
it. I don't vary from it. So guess what? Again, this is where things are different with EGS than other companies, because guess what? In the Overstreet guide, okay, let's just say, for creases allowed, no matter the size, any size crease, okay? If there's a tiny, just little crease on a corner or whatever, okay, if you look at the Overstreet guide, I can't give that book 9.2. It has to be a 9.0,
Right.
because in the subsections, when it says allowable defects, right, in a 9.2 and up, it says none. None. That's not an eighth of an inch or a quarter of an inch. It's none. How many books have you seen come from PGX or the other grading companies that might have a little crease on it, but is getting a 9.2, a 9.4,
Right.
right? That's just one of the many subtle differences that I can't give that. If I'm going by the book, I can't give that book a 9.2 or a 9.4, So that's just one little difference, when you're going by that Overstreet standard, yes. So guess what? You send the same book to me and the same book to CGC, of course there's going to be a different grade. You're probably going to get a higher grade with them, but does that mean one's right and one's wrong? No, it's just the standard is
Right.
different, right? And that's just one example. So,
Well, and it's a very common thing. A lot of my friends have switched to either EGS or CBCS, and kind of the running joke is that's a 9.4, but it would have been a CBCS 9.0. We hear that a lot.
of course,
So there is different ways that these rules are applied, and you have to look at each company individually.
right. Yeah.
For
And
that.
like I said, until there's a standard across the board that we all have to adhere to when it comes to grading, that means we all have to have one way of coming up with that one number. To me, nobody could say, oh, this would be a 9.2 or a 9.4 with somebody else, or, that you can't, because there's no basis to make those
Right.
comments on, So,
Yeah.
like I said, man, it's just really, this industry, it's the wild west, really, because nobody besides us is letting you know how we're coming up with that number. So
Right.
until there is some board or some thing that we all come together with and say, look, we're going to make it one standard that everybody has to adhere to, then when that happens, now you could say, oh, you want to send a book here and it gets a 8.5, and you want to send the same book to somebody else and it gets a 9.2 or a 9.4, then maybe you can raise your eyebrow, because if we're all supposed to be getting to that number the same way, now you have a basis to go on. But without that, you have nothing. It's just your opinion, right?
Right.
So, you know.
So all of that being said, the reason I wanted to get into that part of the equation, I mean, of course, we could talk about your labels and your cases and your techniques and everything that you're doing over there that I absolutely love. And maybe we should hook up some other time and do that kind of show.
Sure.
But we're here to talk about something specific, and I wanted to establish a baseline of your personal integrity, your integrity as a business, and also my trust in you um, as a business that does this. So, for my opinion, you are probably the most um, uh, you have the most integrity in this space, and it could be because you're the only, you're a very small company and just starting out, and you're afforded that. But I wanted to establish that as a baseline, because what we're here to talk about is ultimately this fallout from the C2E2 fiasco over the weekend and the ultimate fallout for. And where I want to come at it, I'm like I said, I'm not going to talk about the influencers that got early access to the books and stuff like that. That is what it is, and it's been going on for 50 years, and nobody's going to change it. They're just going to do these dealings in the back room before, and not on the con floor. That was just stupid on everybody's part. But I want to talk to the book itself and where we're at. Um, so the book was produced last November, and it was an exclusive to the company, to Black Flag, Clayton Crane cover for Ultimate Fallout 4
Mm-hmm.
on a facsimile. So we've seen this before. Spider-Man facsimile did it. There's a really cool Peach Momoko that Hive Comics did. Really dig it. But these kind of things have been done before, but they don't sell real well. So they were selling this book for $10, and they couldn't sell through everything they had. And somebody had a brilliant idea to put this acetate cover over the top of it. Now, to me, that's altering the book. That's adding something to it that was not originally there, was not in the original contract with Marvel. And I'm totally okay with that. They own the books. They can do whatever they want with. If they want to rip all the covers off, sell them covered, let's do it. I don't care. It's your book. But what I want to get your opinion on is when we alter that book. So we added a wrap, the acetate wrap, and two more staples. So you've really just married a cover to it,
Yeah.
and added two staples,
Mm-hmm.
and then they gave it a blue label.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's at the very least a green label and needs to be
Right.
qualified,
Right.
in my opinion.
Right.
But so that's the case. That's where we're at this point, and we just want to hear your opinion as a professional in this space, somebody with integrity that we trust. What is your opinion on this fiasco?
So look, again, the grading companies, are in business, and basically, look, they make their own decisions, and they do what they feel is right. So, I don't want to say that, somebody's right, somebody's wrong, because everybody that owns a company does things their way. And, basically everything else is people's opinion. right?
Right.
So CGC, you know, made the decision to do what they did, and like you, that should have been at the very to me, my opinion is that should have been at the very least a green label. But again, I'm not CGC. I
Right.
I don't run it. I have nothing, I have nothing to do with it. They're the ones that made that decision. But here's the thing, Eric, and I've been saying this to a lot of people over the weekend because this is, this has been a big deal, right? I tell people, why are you surprised? Why are you like now like shocked that this happened, or why is there an uproar with this happening when not too long ago we're talking about the same company that almost did the exact same thing with Bad Idea, okay, and graded Invisible Comics and put a CGC blue label, certified blue label, and grade on an invisible comic.
Right.
So if a company is willing to give it a certified blue label and grade, actual grade on an invisible comic book, how are you shocked that this happened? Really? I
Right.
mean, if they could do that with an invisible, that's why I said when that whole thing happened with Bad Idea, I'm like, if this doesn't open people's eyes, I don't know what will. I mean, talk about how do you give a married cover a blue label? How do you give an invisible comic a grade and a blue label?
Right. I mean that was obviously a tongue in cheek.
You know, but the point is, it's still their
Right.
stamp. It's their brand. They put a blue certified label on those however many books there was that they got, right? I mean,
Right.
let's say this, Eric. I mean, if you're grading an invisible book, then guess what? There should be an invisible grade on the book,
Right.
right? But they
Yeah.
didn't. They actually put different grades on an invisible and gave it a certified blue label. Look, if a company, no matter if it's you know obviously they worked something out with Bad Idea and got paid to do that. So if a company is willing to do that, to me, their integrity is out the window. I'm sorry. That just
Right.
shows me that it's all about the money and nothing else. So obviously when they did this with this book, it doesn't shock me. It doesn't. And like I said, I mean, I don't know why it's shocking other people that, oh, well, they gave it a blue label. Well, they gave an invisible comic a blue label and a grade. I mean, so, but again, were they at fault? I mean, look, I mean, everybody does their due diligence a certain way. I mean, obviously, I think they came out with a statement and they are standing behind you know, their product and whatever,
Right.
and that's fine. Um, but EGS, we do our research. I mean, if that book would have came across my desk, I mean, I'm gonna investigate it.
Right.
I'm not just gonna. So I don't know. It leaves a lot of questions. There's a lot of speculation about, did they know this was coming? Were there any deals made? I mean, who knows? I don't know. But all I'm saying is a company willing to grade invisible comics, to me, I don't put anything past them. I
Right.
don't. But that's their business. I mean, they're the leader. They can do whatever they want, and it is what it is. So my whole take on it is, yes, we would have done things different. Does that make us right and them wrong? No, I mean, that's just a public opinion,
Right.
because everybody can do things their way. So yeah, I mean, look, we have facsimiles and reprints and things, I mean, come through all the time, right? But you have to realize, look, I've graded a lot of books. I've seen a lot of books. I get, so I know how a lot of books look, right? But if I see something that's like, wow, I've never seen this before, like an acetate cover on a reprint, I'm going to do the research and find out, has any of these been made? Who made it? What's, I mean, there's investigation that needs to happen, and then you come up with your decision. So I don't know if CGC did their research. I have no idea, but they came up with their decision and they made it, and there it is. And they can do what they want. Would I have done it that way? Probably not. Would CBCS have done it that way? Who knows? Would PGX have done it that way? Who knows? But again, I don't I don't put anything past that company, because they are, to me, they still have so much of the market share, that I think they really think that they can just do whatever they want, and no matter what happens, they're still gonna, it's not gonna really affect them,
Right.
and until that changes, this is what we have to expect. So you either give your money to them with, if you feel that, you trust them and that's the company you want to use, then you use them. If not, then use somebody else. It's as simple as that, but again, I don't know if this is going to affect them or not. But I just hope people, I mean, open their eyes and know that there's other options out there. If you don't agree with, say, this or them doing invisible comics, then don't give them your money. There's other
Right.
options out there for you to use. But, the secondary market is a big thing to a lot of people. And until that changes, I think CGC is just going to be able to do whatever they want, do things how they want, whenever they want, without even batting an eyelash. So
Now, I do see, prior to this, I have seen kind of a dynamic shift. I press and clean for a lot of not only comic shops, but really high end collectors. People like Rob's Fat Stacks, and this level of collector, Golden Age, Silver Age, real high end stuff. And a lot of them have gone the route of switching over to exclusively CBCS, and recently have even sent books into you, and been real pleased with the results. And I do feel that the collectors. So I don't know if you've ever seen my podcast, but I have this thing that I call bro collectors, and those are the guys that show up Wednesdays and they're like, "Bro, you got to get this book because, bro, that's going to be worth so much money, and I got to get it to CGC because, bro, it's going to be worth so much."
yep.
Bro collectors are never going to get away from CGC just because, in their mind, that's going to give them the biggest bang for their buck.
No matter what they do.
Yeah. So they're always going to have that market, and there's nothing that you or I or anybody else is going to say to change their mind.
Nope.
Just because. And they're going to pump, and they're going to say CGC has every right to do this, and they don't have to apply rules equally to everybody, and
Yep.
all that. But for collectors, my comic books, I don't have many slab comics. I have a couple from you, a couple from CBCS. Um, but my books, I want to make sure they get to somebody that's going to treat me like they are going to treat the next book, the way that they treated the book before me. And I don't know if I put an acetate over one of my X-Men number ones that I have a full long box over and sell it for $200. If I send that into CGC, will it get a green label? It sure will, but it should be getting a blue label at this point.
Yep.
So that's that. I think there's a lot of ramifications coming from this situation, that we haven't even seen yet.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to have somebody like you to be able to speak to that and kind of give us that point of view from somebody that really knows the ins and outs of grading and can speak on more of a professional label, because the rest of us are just speculating as collectors, saying what we would like to see happen.
Yeah.
But it's really nice to see somebody at your level speak on it. So that's kind of where we're at on the whole C2E2 mess. I don't want to go too long. I know that you're busy, but I did want to give you a moment to let us know about your new cases. I know that we've been anxiously awaiting these. It's going to be a game changer for you as a business, and hopefully kind of put you in that up to that next level where a lot of us can finally get some turnaround going and start churning some of these books. So let us know about your new cases.
Yeah. So our new EGS holder is actually in production. So they are being made. Um, this case is really, going to just be a win-win, right, for all parties. That's the beauty part about this. I mean, it's a win for the consumer because you're getting a better product in our estimation, and it's a win for us because of the fact that now it's going to make our life just so much easier. And not only our life so much easier, now we're going to be able to make the profit it takes to go and expand and get to that next level, to where with the current product that we're using, that can't happen or never would happen.
Right.
So, this is really a huge deal with us, and it's just like this huge gorilla off my back. Finally, this we're in our fourth year, and really, to tell you the truth, Eric, when I first started, I was hoping by maybe the end of year 5, we might be in a position to start maybe thinking about doing our own cases and maybe designing one and just getting the process going. But here we are, in year 4, and we're probably a month or so away from a new case actually being here.
Nice.
So that just goes to show you, where we are opposed to what our projections were. I mean, we're way ahead of what we thought or where we thought we would be at this point. And to me, that is just, I'm humbled, and it's an incredible feeling that, okay, we're at this point now, and things are only going to really just skyrocket for us, now. So I do have a video out, so everybody can go check it out on the EGS YouTube. I do show off the case, give you a look at the new case, and I give you a kind of like a production timeline, which I've been told, end of August or early September is the estimated target date that we should have them. So I've told everybody on that video that, if you have a submission in with us, and you don't mind waiting a little bit, and you want your cases in the new case opposed to the old case, just, shoot us an email, and we will accommodate that for you. And there's no extra cost or nothing involved with that. So, so again, the timeline, is estimated. I mean, that's if, everything goes perfectly and there's, no delays in production or there's no delays in shipping, that, we should have them by those dates. If not, there's a little snag here or a little snag there. We could be talking maybe a couple weeks more, but, it is what it is. They are in production. And it's a really good feeling knowing that we're at that stage to where, they're actually being produced and made. And it's just a matter of time till we get them and we're able to get them out to everybody. So,
Right on.
like I said, we think it's going to be a game changer. We hope so. This is what everybody, the one maybe knock or stigma with us is, because we've been modifying comic skins instead of having our own, case. I think that's been really the only or the biggest knock against us. So now there's going to be no more excuses to all of those people, right?
Right. A real
So,
game changer.
yeah.
All right. So scrolling down the bottom, we got the EGS YouTube. Make sure you head on over there, sub him up. I'm sure I have not been subbed up to you. I just did, so I'm
Awesome.
good. But you got 740 subscribers. Doesn't look like you do a ton of content, but
No,
it's out there, and so you're not going to get beat up with a bunch of stuff. Go sub him up so you know when things are happening.
Yep. Yeah. Like I said, we started the YouTube channel mainly, really, it's a way for us to get updates and EGS news out on a broader, it's just another venue to get our message and news and stuff out to everybody else. But I have a segment that I do called Talking Slabs. I try to, take a grading topic or a topic point, with in terms of the grading industry. And I like to get various YouTubers to come on and we just talk about a subject. So I've got one that I'm doing here really shortly, another episode. I mean, it's been a while since I've been able to do it just because I just don't have to. I mean, it's hard to make the time with
Right.
not only myself, but with other, YouTubers and content creators. So, I mean, so really, the channel isn't for like, purely, topic and entertainment. We do have, topic discussions, but it's mainly for updates and news with EGS to, get out to you guys. So,
Yeah. So it's scrolling down across the bottom, and there will be a link in the description. Also, EGS, it is, I'll click that button, egscomicsgrading.com, and you can go right to their website. My suggestion to any of you watching, head on over there, fill out the form, get some books off to this gentleman so you'll have them in the queue when he gets those new slabs in, because he's going to be overwhelmed and you want to be one of the first ones on the block to get in there. So head on
yeah,
over to egscomicsgrading.com and fill out a submission, get some books off to Tony, and let him do his thing.
thank you.
So
Yeah, if you do submit today, anything that gets submitted today, they will be in the new case.
in the new
So,
cases, there you go, guys.
so there you
So
go.
new cases, do it with confidence. Get them in now. I'm going to get an order of 25 books off to you this afternoon. I don't want to be missing out on those cool. And then labels. I mean, let's face it, the labels. Like I said, there's a ton of things that we could cover with you, and and we probably should. We maybe we should sit down again sometime and go over
Sure.
some of this other stuff, kind of on a more positive note. To all of my vets, I want you to know that Tony is the exclusive grading service for our Slab the Vet program. I press them, send them to him. He does his magic. We get them out to Gold Star families. We get them out to service members, first responders, something both of us feel really passionate about. We can't, as vets, survive in this world without our allies. So thank you for that.
Yep. My pleasure. It's a great program. It's just, Elias or X11 Bravo, I
Right.
should say, does such a great job. I mean, just, getting things together and he's aligned himself with great people. I'm just, I'm happy to be a part of it. And, for instance, right now, he's always been, to me, he's like, look, this is something that, you're doing for us. So there's no pressure on, time constraints
Right.
or anything like that. So like, for instance, he's like, hey, we know we've got a bunch of books in with you. Let's just go ahead and wait for the new slabs to come out and slab them in there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, he's great to work with. And what he's doing is phenomenal. And, we're happy just to be a part of it.
Yes, and I would also like to say I've been really lucky. Hive Comics has stepped up to the plate. James at Hive is a vet, and they have paid for all the pressing. So the program itself doesn't pay for it. If somebody wants to get with myself, get with Tony, X11 Bravo, anybody to pay for the slabbing of these books to help support that cost, reach out to us. The more that we can get from the community to help get these hands in these families of Gold Star vets, the better. So if you want to get involved, let us know and we'll get you involved.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's what I got for you today. I appreciate you very much for coming on and giving us your insight. Again, EC or EGScomicsgrading.com. Go hit them up, fill out your forms, get your books in now, beat the rush, because I imagine it's going to be first come, first serve. So,
Yes.
And he's not going to, Tony's not going to get a chance to come on for like 6 months while as soon as he gets these slabs in, he's going to be working night and day. So,
oh boy, yeah, it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to definitely add to our workload. Again, I wish I knew how much, but we will see. But I know for sure I'm definitely going to be busy for sure.
All right.
Yeah, get your books in. And again, we do, like you said, it will be a first come, first serve basis. So,
all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my books out tonight, and then we'll throw this video up tomorrow. So get mine in first. All right. So I appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much. And for everybody else, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Go over sub up EGS Comics on YouTube. Give them some support. Follow them on Instagram, Facebook, all the socials, so you know when things are happening over there. Because I got a feeling he's going to be busier than heck come the next 6 months or so.
Yeah, so, and I can't wait for con season next year, because we are going to hit the con season for sure next year.
On.
So we can go and get out there and start meeting all of you great folks out there. We haven't really been able to go to any cons yet. We've been to maybe one or two, and they weren't really that big. So we plan next year to change that. So, I mean, that's just going to, be even more on our plate. Next year is to be getting out there and, getting EGS out there so you guys can come up and meet us and actually get to see, touch, and feel our product, live in person.
Right.
And, we can't wait for that as well.
Right on. And you come to Utah, if you come to FanX or Wasatch, I got a spare room. You can hang out at the house, give you a home-cooked meal every night.
Hey, we'll talk for sure.
All righty. All right. Till next time, traders.